pass to the next person.
Okay, next we go to literature review. For dependent variable is participation in leisure and recreation physical activities. Most of the previous research said that participation of students in this physical activity can benefit the protection and health assurance of UC students from experiencing depression and stress during their studies. Thus, we can use the reason that leisure and education can also affect the psychological well-being to both student abilities and allow students to engage with other communities to do activities that can provide intellectual stimulation in the early stage of students in getting used to being in new areas. So we go to independent variable. There are three independent variables. The first is accessibility. Most of the previous research said that the source of concern are the availability and quality of recreational facilities at the university, as well as the availability and quality of leisure and recreation physical activities. Thus, we can use the reason that the student experience may be greatly enhanced in this. If sufficient attention was paid to the shaping and moderating of discourse, transmit through recreational activities and guidelines, and more proactive monitoring of interactional behavior by instructor. Therefore, there is a relationship between accessibility and participation in leisure and education physical activities among university students. So we go to the next independent level, that is knowledge. Most of the previous research said that recreational programs in university play an important and significant role in helping university students to broaden their horizon and expand their knowledge. Thus, we can use the reason that students should be taught about sport, leisure, and recreational activities, and they should be encouraged to participate in them. Therefore, there is a relationship between knowledge and participation in leisure and recreation physical activities among students. And we look to the last independent variable, that is most of the students need feedback to practice knowledge and improve the mastery of the language. Thus, we can use the reason that learning through experience is one of the effective methods to ensure that it is achieved. As a result, we came to a conclusion that institutional exposure is crucial in physical, leisure, and education. Therefore, there is a relationship between institutional exposure and participation in leisure and education physical activities among university students. Next slide. So next slide, we go to research framework. Research framework shows that of the related research that is the conceptual framework of acceptance of UT students towards leisure and education physical. This research aims to determine the accessibility, knowledge and institutional exposure to participation in leisure and recreation physical activities among university students. And from the previous research, there is a relationship between accessibility, knowledge, institutional exposure, and participation in leisure and recreation physical activities among UC students. Thus, this conceptual framework is proposed for this research. There are three hypotheses. For hypothesis 1, there is a relationship between accessibility and participation in leisure and education physical activities among UC students. For hypothesis 2, there is a relationship between knowledge and participation in leisure and education physical activities among UC students. And for the last hypothesis, hypothesis 3, there is a relationship between institutional exposure and participation in leisure and education physical activities among university students. So I will pass to the next presenter.
Next, for the methodology, we have research design. We had used research design on this study. Based on the study, the researcher showed that quantitative techniques as a chosen methodology to analyze this study. Quantitative research is done in a structured manner to collect and analyze data obtained from different sources. To collect standardized information from respondents using a questionnaire, the researcher employed the Likert scale. The options vary from 1 to 5 on the E-survey, which is 1 strongly disagree, 2 disagree, 3 neutral, 4 agree, and 5 strongly agree. A Google Form e-survey technique is being used to collect all of the information from respondents. All of respondent information will be kept confidential and not made public. Next, for the population, we had also used a population for the methodology. For the population, this research target only university students in Malaysia by focusing on student perception in this study. According to statistics from the Ministry of Higher Education in 2020, the total number of university students is 584,576. Due to a large number of students, the researcher only required a small group of students who would answer the questionnaire. A total of 300 students are needed to undertake the questionnaire. Then, for a sample size. For the sample size, the main purpose of the sample size is to enable the researcher public university student to obtain results that will be used to draw conclusions that apply to the entire population. In terms of purposing sampling, the study 361 people drawn from a group of student known as a sample size to ensure that no Google form was left unanswered would be widely widely used strategy according to Critchie and Morgan 1970 table to determine sample size of population of 500 people. A sample size of 270 people is required to represent the entire population. At the end of this study, we managed to get 304 university students for our sample size. So, next, I will pass to the next presenter.
In this study, we use community sampling to obtain data to analysis. This refers to the fact that probability sampling is used as a technique in
Jom, kita buka.
In this study, we use probability sampling to obtain data to continue and conduct research. This is referred to the fact that probability sampling is used as technique in which we use this method of probability sampling This is referred to the fact that probability sampling is used as a technique in which we use this method of probability theory, which is to select a sample from university students in Malaysia. There were 4 stages in data collection procedure. First is as permission to do research. Second is instruction to the There were 4 stages in data collection procedure. First is as permission to do research. Second is instruction to the respondent. Next is distribute questionnaire to the respondent. Lastly, respondent feedback. In research instrument, there are 5 sections of the questionnaire for this study, which are section A, B, C, D, and E. Section A contain questions that ask about a respondent demographic information such as gender and age. Meanwhile, in section B, C, D, and E is content about independent variable and dependent variable. This question employ a 5-point Likert scale which responses ranging from strongly disagree 1 to strongly agree 5. In pilot study, there were 25 students involved because we can know respondent level of understanding of the question before distributing to the student. In this research, we use statistical analysis for the social science SPSS version 26 to check the data analysis and generate the result. Descriptive statistics and the person correlation coefficient are two of the analysis that used in this software. Descriptive statistics to summarize the background of the respondent. This analysis will help to understand in more depth about the background information of the respondent consisting of gender and age. Meanwhile, the person correlation coefficient is used in this study to examine the relationship between accessibility, knowledge, and institutional exposure and participation in leisure and recreation physical activities among university students. Next, I will pass to the next presenter.